Hey guys, haven't done this in a minute. Um, been mainly doing podcasts, but I thought I'd come and talk a little bit about what's happening in the Premier League. Obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'll talk about Arsenal. But I just think the situation with the cancel or postponements rather of games, and then continuing to be unclear about why these games are being postponed. I think this is a very big problem, and I'm not saying this purely because of this upcoming two fixtures for Arsenal with Wolves and on the 28th and Norwich on the 26th. Those games are going to be, you know, at risk until I guess further notice as well, because it can change that Arsenal doesn't play one of them. But as it stands, as I'm recording this, December 23rd, Arsenal are playing Norwich away. They just played Sunderland a few days ago. And then now they're going to be playing in less than 48 hours against Wolves. But Wolves don't have to play a game because, and it's not Wolves' fault, but Wolves' opponent for the Boxing Day fixtures is supposed to be Watford, who have a COVID outbreak that is preventing them from playing in that game. So I guess my point here is until there's clarity, it's going to be very difficult to understand what is fair about these processes. Because then you have Rafa Benitez, who feels that he and Everton had every right to have their game removed as well to a further date, and that was denied. Last week, Thomas Tuchel was also very public about their game against Wolves, coincidentally, was not supposed to have been played because they had about 7 cases of COVID. And it goes on and on and on. And granted, Arsenal don't have a COVID-free squad themselves, but it's not extreme. But what's turning out to be the case here is that teams who don't have COVID influenced or affected squads, which that's what we all want. It seems like those teams are getting punished for their relative good health, because I watched Tottenham against Liverpool, and Liverpool had definitely been suffering an accumulation of injuries. And Liverpool, they had some COVID cases like, Thiago, a key player in midfield, Virgil van Dijk, a key player in defense, arguably their best and most important player, if you ask many people who watched that team, was not available due to COVID. But the overall Liverpool squad had been stretched. So some players had to come in early. Same thing in the Chelsea game. Some players had to come in early. N'Golo Kante played in a little too soon than Chelsea would have liked. Kovacic the same. And yet, you have some teams who, in this very congested time, and I don't think the congestion of the fixtures is for the Christmas period is the problem. I think most players that I've heard talk about it, everybody who plays in England, loves playing during the winter holiday period. But it's the overall calendar that appears to be the issue with the people who have spoken publicly about this, like so your Klopps and your Pep Guardiolas and other people who have spoken about player welfare. So I'm just curious what you guys think about this. I just think it's a lot of bullshit because the guidelines are still unknown. It's case by case, as the Premier League has repeatedly said now, is that they taking a look at these things case by case, and so teams and unfortunately thus far fans have also been screwed around during a time that in the country, in England that is, during a time where the Omicron variant of COVID is spiking very 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 heavily, and So anyway, I just wanted to come and talk about that because it's a very very worrisome threat to to the integrity of the Premier League, and it's a worrisome threat also to the health of the players. Period. Because now we have players who are probably going to be a little bit overstretched. I know on what I'm seeing on Twitter is that a lot of people are very unsympathetic towards these players and are claiming that they're being crybabies and they should just play because other people are getting paid to play to work in mines for 12 hours a day and things like that. And I'm reading all kinds of things online and I'm like, I know, but this is not the same thing. I mean, like, let's keep this thing, and then all those other issues. If we want to fight about those issues, fine, let's fight about those issues. But right now, we're talking about player welfare and, working in mines. I'm not going to disrespect people who work in mines. I come from a very poor household myself. I know that, people's hard work in different contexts, can be respected a bit better. But it doesn't really make it any right, and it doesn't make it right to then disrespect other people in their field when they're talking about a labor practice issue. And I think just because these kids are getting a lot of money, it doesn't mean they should not be heard and listened to. Because as much as like fans are important in the game, players are important. Like those two things go hand in hand. And a lot of us fans, we gotta be fair as well, because when these players play all kinds of fucked up and they don't perform well, we're the first to jump on them. We jump on their social media pages, with negative rhetoric, and we are very negative when they're not performing, and yet we don't consider the working conditions that they're playing in. So anyway, I would be curious to hear what some of you guys think about this, and as always, thank you for the useful and fruity conversations about football and life in general. I hope everybody's staying safe as possible during this winter break and winter holiday season, as whatever people celebrate, whatever it is you're celebrating. Hopefully you and yours are safe and full of love and joy. All right, talk to you guys soon. Cheers.